Vice presidential candidates will gather in Salt Lake City tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern. The debate begins, but I'll be here at 8 p.m. Eastern on many of these stations and, of course, via my Hugh Hewitt YouTube channel. And if you're not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, I encourage you to become that. You can also watch on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter, of course, at Hugh Hewitt. I'm a columnist for the Washington Post in one of the many hats that I wear, and I issued one last night that posted late in the afternoon, about 7 p.m., I guess, East Coast time. And then I read some of the Jim Baker book. I'll be interviewing Peter Baker about a little bit later. And then I went to bed and woke up, and there were 4,000 comments. And that's pretty funny. Now it's on the landing page at the Washington Post. I encourage you to go there and send it everywhere. 4,000 comments means 3,999 angry comments from the comment trolls from the left. The title that the Post gave it is How Trump Has Made the Country Better Off Than It Was 4 years ago. I want to read the column to you. I may read it to you a few times today because it's just a simple declaration of fact. The 2020 election is 4 weeks out. Here is the short case for backing the Trump-Pence ticket and voting for Republican senators and representatives in your state. Have President Trump and the Republicans helped you since they assumed office in 2017? Or are you the same or worse off than you were nearly 4 years ago? My guess is that the president and the GOP have helped you. Yes, of course, count the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. But I think Trump has done as well as any president could have done, and better than Joe Biden would have done. Remember that when Trump restricted flights from China on January 31st as the pandemic that spread from Wuhan had barely started, the next day Biden criticized the president's hysteria and xenophobia. More recently, Biden has vowed to shut down the entire country in response to the pandemic, if necessary. Now, consider that you are much safer and more secure under this president than you were on January 20, 2017, because of the military buildup Trump has overseen. Every member of the military has received higher pay, and the armed forces are now much better equipped. You might not be safer if you live in crime-afflicted Chicago or New York or Portland, Oregon, but that's another matter. Trump has reduced the U.S. military footprint abroad, choosing to punch hard while pulling back. The Islamic State's so-called caliphate in the Middle East has been destroyed. Syria and Iran are on notice. The two biggest terrorist leaders alive when Trump took office, the Islamic State's Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani, are now dead. The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain have recently signed major diplomatic agreements with Israel, a breakthrough engineered by the Trump administration and the first such pact between the Jewish state and its Arab neighbors in 25 years. The president has focused the world's attention on the Chinese Communist Party's imperial ambitions, human rights abuses, and role in letting the coronavirus escape from Wuhan. Trump has also shown how the World Health Organization's ties to Beijing worsened the crisis. On the economy, policies championed by Trump and the GOP succeeded in bringing unemployment to all-time lows early this year. Now the economy, after the pandemic-forced shutdowns, is bouncing back, with unemployment below 8% and heading lower. Trump has made America's allies pay more for their share in the costs of a common defense. The savings for the United States are better directed to domestic use. Your taxes are down, and the value of your home has likely gone up. Your freedoms and your fundamental right to be left alone are much stronger than they were before Trump's inauguration because the president, working with Senate Republicans, has bolstered the Supreme Court and federal courts with strong judges who honor the Constitution. These judges will long protect your religious practices and your right to bear arms and will rein in the administrative state's attempts to control your life. Millions of Americans have benefited enormously from the Trump administration in their own particular ways. Military veterans recognize that the Department of Veterans Affairs has been dramatically improved under the Trump administration. Lovers of national parks know that long overdue maintenance and improvements to the parks have been made possible by the Great American Outdoors Act. Those in prison for nonviolent offenses or have incarcerated family members celebrated the reforms of the First Step Act. You may love Trump, you may loathe him, but his policies have undoubtedly been good for you and the country. Meanwhile, let's look at the Democrats. Biden won the nomination, but Bernie Sanders won the battle of ideas. Democrats are moving hard left. ready to wreck health insurance again with Medicare for all, and the energy industry with their disastrous Green New Deal. The left wing of the party, if Democrats control Congress and the White House next year, will push for expanding the Supreme Court so a liberal majority can restrict freedoms they don't like, especially religious freedoms and the right to bear arms. Many Democrats are pushing to repeal the requirements of 60 votes to pass most legislation in the Senate. And when that happens, watch out. The left-wing playbook will become law, with dire consequences for the economy and U.S. society. This is what's at stake on November 3rd. You won't see a fair reading of the facts about the Trump administration's record because 95% of the media is overtly anti-Trump. It is the most absurd partisan imbalance I've ever seen, and it will only get worse in the coming weeks. The collapse of media fairness, prompted by a seething hatred of Trump, is a harbinger of an enduring one-party state. The answer is to vote against this one-party state and to vote for a second Trump term. That's my Washington Post column this morning. I have put it at the top of HughHewitt.com. It'll stay on the landing page of the Post for a few hours. I encourage you to go there to the Post and send it to everybody in your Rolodex. Send it everywhere. I did a concise video yesterday, but that takes 9 minutes to watch. This takes 2 minutes to read. Cut and paste it as you want. My friend Jan Janura called yesterday and said he wants me to cut and paste bullet points for him to use for both Christians and non-Christians. I'm going to do that because we got to make the case and we got to get out and vote, which brings me to keepamericaamerica.com. I want you to understand voting is underway. Election day is November 3rd, but voting has already begun, in-person voting in Ohio and Arizona. To find out where in-person voting has started or is about to start, go to keepamericaamerica.com.